Hey guys, I think we're live. Um, Let me just double check, make sure that the voice is off. Just double check, make sure. Oh. Okay, so let's see. So I just wanted to come in and chat with you guys, see if you guys are, what you guys are doing. I kind of sort of have a plan for this, and I'm a little nervous, but we'll see who joins. So if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat. I actually took notes to try and stay on topic. And what I want to talk about is I want to talk about um, seeing that it's Michael Jackson's 10th year anniversary of his passing. I thought now would be a really good time to explain to you guys when I talk about little stories and such. When I talk about Michael, I'm not talking about Archangel Michael, even though I have a pretty good relationship with him too. I'm actually talking about Michael Jackson. He is one of my guides. I guess guides, that's kind of what I call him. And I have a really interesting story that I have kind of kept to myself. There's only a few people who know it for obvious reasons. Um, and I guess I want to tell you guys the story tonight. I think it's good. I asked permission, and permission was granted. And so I'm going to be very careful of how I choose to, like, what topics I choose to talk about, and I'm not going to get into anything too personal. But if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them if I can answer them. What really gets my goat is that so many people, see, this is where I feel like this is going to be really bizarre. So many people like say on their YouTube channels are like, oh, like I channeled Michael Jackson and this is what he had to say. And oh, Michael Jackson's so sad, and like just all this crap. In fact, it's to the point now where, like, if I get the hankering to check out some of these videos when they get posted, like I'll actually hear his voice in my head say no. So sometimes I don't listen. I'm not very good at listening. But the reason that I find them so annoying is that we had this conversation once, him and I, because we talk a lot. My clairaudience is open, and so I can hear him pretty clearly. And we had this discussion once about how, like, when we talk and when we hang out, he's absolutely a-okay, like we're just having a great time, and everybody else is like, oh, poor Michael, like he's working on this and working on that. And he explained to me that a channel is always swayed when anybody, like, for example, anybody who has any sort of notoriety, you as a channeler will generally have a notion of this person, right? You will have thoughts and feelings about them, regardless if you know them, if you knew them in the 3D person, which I didn't know him in the 3D person. But he explained to me that it's very hard for channelers to put that aside. So he said most channelers aren't channeling him. And even when some of them do channel him and actually get some of his information through that he wants to get through, they're always, it's not always a clear channel, because they are swayed by their feelings. You know, they feel bad for him, and so that gets put into their channeling, and so it kind of sways the whole thing. And he said to me, he said, listen to me, I wouldn't lie to you, I'm absolutely fine. It was so funny. So before I get ahead of myself, I want to explain how this all came along, because it's very bizarre, and I'm not trying to claim I'm not trying to like be one of those people. And that's one of the reasons I could have filled out the title and the hashtags and everything, and I could have like blasted his name everywhere, but that's not who I am, and that's not why I'm doing this. I think that my story of realizing the connection to him will maybe help some of you guys in your connections with either him or other people as well. So that's why I'm really doing this. And also because he was he was really misunderstood, and he deserves to, I don't know, he deserves so much that like we didn't give him. I mean, like, it's hard. It's very hard and it's complicated, and I'll try and explain that. But so like, don't worry, he's a-okay. He has a great time. He does a lot of work. Like, he's constantly working on the astral planes and other portions. Yay, Amazing Grace, you're here. I'm so glad like somebody commented that they're here, because like, let me tell you guys, this isn't easy for me. Okay, this is not easy. Like, this is taking a leap of faith. And I had an experience today which really brought the whole thing home, and I'm like, okay, there's no possible way that this experience could have happened if it wasn't okay for me to talk about some of these things. And so I'm going to but I want to start at the beginning. So I took notes. I took notes because I didn't want to get off track. Yay! Yay, there's other people here. Thank you guys so much for supporting this. Okay. I'm just going to start. So like, it's not that I'm embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed. It's just you don't, if you're normal, although you guys who know me know that I'm not really normal. But you don't just go walking around saying, oh, like, I talked to so-and-so, or so-and-so and I are like soul friends. Like, you just don't do that, right? Because A, people don't believe you, B, it's none of their business, and C, they probably think that you're totally cray-cray. But this is my story, and I'm proud of it because it taught me a lot along the way. So this is this is what I want to tell you guys. So this is all about Michael Jackson. Okay. So when I was little, like, if you guys have been following my story, you know that things were always weird from the beginning. I had like a spaceship check up on me, right? And I didn't know it when I was little. I just assumed they were dreams. But then when I grew older and I realized what was actually going on, I realized that they were like astral travels. I was jumping past timelines, things like that. So now we're going to add Michael into this. So ever since I was little, I would have these dreams where he would be in. And it was always like our relationship was always like brother-sister relationship, or like best friend relationship. It was always very family oriented, and it was always very protective. And so when I was in grade school, like late grade school, I had this specific like safe place that I would go to, although I think there's more to it now, but that's probably for a different discussion. But it was this castle, right? And it was this castle, I don't know, it was either in England or Ireland, I wasn't really sure. And so in this castle, all kinds of people I lived there. I wasn't like dressing up in like weird clothing or anything, even though it would make sense that I would, because I'm into that historical. Anyway, it was very normal, and like everybody had their own rooms, and people would kind of come and go. And oh, I see we're freezing already. This is another reason why I wanted to do it live, because if I didn't do it live and if I recorded it and then tried to give it to you guys, whole chunks of it would be missing and the video would have gone down. So this is another reason I'm doing it live. And so Michael had his own room in the castle, in the castle, right? And he would just like come and chill, and it was like really cool. And there was this mirror in, I think it was in his room. There was this like large mirror, and we had gone to in like Dreamland and Astroland, we had gone to a Egyptian exhibition at one point, and it was really weird. Like, I had put my hands on this statue, and I went through the statue, and at the time, I went back into ancient Egypt, right? And we're frozen. That's awesome. At the time, it didn't really dawn on me what was happening. You know, it was just dreamland to me. But now that I understand how this works, it was my childlike way timelines, but just making it really easy and putting the pieces together. And he came with me, and he jumped with me. And so we ended up in the King Tut timeline of all things. And I've talked a little bit about this. I didn't really mention his name though, but when we came back, somehow there was like a mirror in his room, like a massive mirror that we could go through. And so so when they needed us in the King Tut timeline, somebody would come back. I always would say my guard, or my, would come back and get us. And then we would go through this mirror and we would take care of things. And then we would always come back. And it was very like normal everyday stuff. It was like dealing with political stuff, paperwork. It wasn't like, we were like chilling out in ancient Egypt. No, it was like actual work. There was one time where Tut had something happened to him, and he was really sick. And so I had to stay and nurse him back to health, but then Michael had to go back for whatever reason. And so like this went back and forth a lot, and we would jump into this mirror together and we would go work on different timelines. Now that I understand what it is, we were actually jumping into those past timelines and actually working on them, or joining with ourselves that were already on those timelines and working. And so hopefully that makes sense. I'm trying to like, okay. So a lot of times it was all about protection. Like in these dreams in this castle, there were times where I was also in Neverland and we froze again. And now I don't have video. That's awesome. Okay, so there were times where we were at Neverland too, and I had my own room, and normal everyday things would happen. There was this one time in high school where I had this dream where we were in the kitchen in Neverland, right? And we were cooking, like I was chopping up vegetables and he was chopping up vegetables, and like things were going really well, and we were like joking around, and then all of a sudden we started like throwing food at each other. And there was like some special needs kids, I think, like coming over. They were gonna watch movies or something like that. And then there was other times too where like there was this. Now keep in mind, like when I'm explaining this, I have no idea what Neverland looks like, right? Because if you guys know anything about that at all, like there was no pictures really. Like nobody ever went inside Neverland to like take pictures until after his death. So it's a good thing that I wrote all this stuff down. And I'll explain why later. But there was times too where there was this like pond, and we would watch the stars, like lay on the grass, watch the stars, and like talk about philosophical things, talk about like all kinds of really cool stuff. And so I want to stay on topic. So okay, so there was a lot of dream things happening. There was also this one time where we were in the jungle and there was a whole bunch of people with us. Like we were on this mission in the jungle, and like he was like the leader of these, I don't know really what to call them. If they were soldiers is probably a bad term, but that actually links into the SSP program. And we'll maybe talk about that later, but I didn't realize any of this. So to me as a kid, it was just dreams. Like I liked his music. I wouldn't consider myself like a crazy fan, but like I really liked what he stood for, right? I mean, he was all about peace and love and like healing the world and like helping the children. And like I myself was, well, I still am a child. You know, I never really grew up. And so it just didn't dawn on me that it would be more than dreams. Okay, so now in the 3D, there was one night where I was supposed to be doing homework. And this is when the internet was like new. So that tells you how old I am. And there was these chat rooms. So there was these chat rooms, and they were so rudimentary. Like kids now would just completely freak out. And it was a Michael Jackson chat room, and I was like, oh, that's so weird. Like, what do people actually talk about? So I went in, and I was just watching what was going on. And you could open like a small room by yourself. So like you and somebody else could just go off and chat. And I'm not really a chatty person unless I have something to chat about. But I love watching, like my anthropology degree, I love like watching and figuring out how everything is working. And all of a sudden, this person private messages me. And this person's like, hey, do you like movies? And I was like, yes, I do. I really like old black and white movies. Like I love, you know, Charlie Chaplin and the Three Stooges and things like that. And this person is like, I do too. Let's open a room so we can chat. And I was like, okay. So like we're chatting, and I reckon, even though I didn't know what was going on, I recognized that energy from dreams. And I was like, oh my God, like I think I'm actually talking to Michael. And like this sounds crazy, I know. So, but I played it cool. We were just talking about like movies, like our favorite movies and stuff like that. And it didn't last very long. Like I don't know. I mean, I know that he was sensitive and that he could feel energy and all that stuff. So like maybe he knew that I knew, even though I wasn't saying I knew. And then he's like, I have to go. Give me your email address. And so I did. And I was like, yeah, okay, we'll like test this out, right? Like if he actually writes something back, we'll see. Maybe all this stuff isn't like crazy. So a couple days went by, and I get this email in my inbox. And the email was like, I really enjoyed chatting. I actually have the email saved somewhere. I printed it out on the old paper that has the perforations on the ends, you know, on the sides. And I printed it out. It was like, hey, I really enjoyed our talk, or I really enjoyed talking with you. I'm really busy, but I think I'm going to be able to watch whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he signed it. I don't know if he signed it like that's lame. And so then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to write back because like I know who I'm dealing with now, right? And so I wrote back, and the damn thing wouldn't send. It not only would it not send, it said that the something like one-way delivery, you know, you can't respond to this. So I was like, huh, okay. So like I printed it out, I saved it. And as I grew older, so like this is by the time I was in high school, things like that, you know, like you deal with high school things. I was in drama. I was meeting new friends. I went to a parochial school, so jumping from parochial school to like regular high school is scary. And I actually ended up meeting my twin in the 3D when I was in high school, and those are like totally different stories. But most of my high school times, like my dreams sort of faded. Like I didn't really have a lot of dreams, or that I wrote them down. And so then I let me just see. Okay, so so the thing about the twin, the really cool thing about the twin is that he was just like me. He actually was in college at the time, but he was working in the theater department, like teaching, helping teach kids. And he was a kid himself. And so like we took like squirt guns up on top of our ski hill, and we would have like squirt gun fights, and we would go camping, and we had like these big I don't know, they were like big blown up fist things that you would put on to like box each other, and we would like go out on his parents' roof, and we would like have boxing matches with these big blown up things. It was just super fun. Like you don't think of high school kids doing that. Like you think of them like more worried about boyfriends and whatever, and like I could care less. I was just having a great time. So the dream stopped. I didn't really record very many dreams at that time. I started in college where they were a little different than like hanging out and chilling out and just having a really good time. They were really personal everyday dreams, and I can't believe like this stuff keeps going. Yeah, I can believe it, but okay. So let me see if I can put the rocks, and that might help things. If you guys have questions, let me know. Like if I can answer them, I will answer them. Um, okay, so I started having these dreams, and they were not that they weren't fun, but like they were super serious, and they were more life-based dreams. Like we weren't just shooting the shit, like gazing at stars, right? Or like having food fights. Like it was serious stuff. I had a dream once where like we had to go back to his parents' house for something. And there was like in that house, there was like secret doors. So like we went in to grab something from what would have been his old room, and like something I don't know. I probably should look this up before I start talking about it. But basically what happened is like his dad came in and like hit him, like and so like we pushed him out, and then there was like these doors that looked like bookcases that we like somehow made it out. But like it was serious stuff that was happening. And then I had this one dream where there was like board meetings, and everybody was gathered around discussing this one. Well, one of them had to do with like well, I'm not going to get into that. Okay, so we were discussing like very personal things, and I wasn't like, I knew I wasn't there. I knew I was in astral, and I was in the corner by the door, and I was like, I wedged myself in the corner because I knew I was just watching this, and I felt really weird. Like I felt like I shouldn't be there. And I had this thought cross my mind that at least like nobody knows I'm here. And as soon as I thought that, he looks up, he turns to me in the corner, and he winks at me. And I was really confused because I was like, how is this possible? Like he's not supposed to know that I'm here, and why would I even be here anyway? This is like the weirdest dream ever. So there was a lot of dreams like that, like where I don't know, I'm not going to even get into that, but just really, really strange stuff. Okay, we made it past page 1. All right. So other than that, like even when, because after that meeting came out, after that board meeting came out, I walked out. Like I don't know why I used the doors. I guess I thought I should probably just use the doors like everybody else, even though I probably didn't need to. Walked out, and like everybody's adjourning, and like him and a specific person were like talking in the hallway. And it was really weird because I didn't know what to do. I knew I shouldn't be there, but I was still there. And I know because I'm like, trapped in this dream. Like, it's not like you can just like have a car and drive away. Like, I felt like I was there and I wasn't quite sure what to do. So I stood there and I like started walking away. And then I was like upset because like he didn't acknowledge that I was there. But then he met me in the elevator going down, and he's like something like, "Thanks for coming. Thanks for being my support. It's all figured out and it's all over now," something like that. And so just really, really weird stuff. And like, it wasn't fun. And this is when I was in college. I had like boyfriend stuff at the time, and then I still had my twin stuff going on. Plus, I had school and all this other stuff. So I didn't see or hear from him again from a long time. And I saw him. So like, I get married. This whole twin flame is another story. I get married, and not to the twin. And I started being like a married woman, right, on this farmstead, and it was totally sucky. And I didn't see much of him, like in Dream World and Astro World. I didn't see much of him, and I kind of even forgot about it because it's not like something I don't like. This isn't. I don't know. I just don't think about it, which you think most people would think about it, but I don't really think about it. So I forgot him. I forgot him, and I forgot, like I was dealing with 3D life. And then close to his passing, I had one dream where he and I were talking in nothingness. Like, there was nothing around us, and we were talking, and I saw him, and I was like, what the hell? Like, what the hell? What's going on? He just wasn't himself. He wasn't acting normal. He was like really depleted. And so like, now that I can talk to him and I can hear him, I ask about these things. I ask about these experiences that I had, and like, he explains them a bit more to me. And so like, I always thought that how do you explain this? I was really, I was really considerate about like personal things. Like, I never really asked or delved into it because it's not my business, right? But he says it differently. He says that we actually talk about a lot of very personal things because we're that close. And so then I said, well, how come I don't remember these things? Like, I write in my journals that we had serious discussions, or like, it was a serious talk, but I don't say what we talked about. And he says that the reason you don't remember any of this technical stuff, any of the serious stuff, is for your own protection. Because if you remember it, then you have a chance to like say things, and like, it's just, considering the whole status thing just wasn't a good option. And I completely agree with that. So I don't have specifics of like some of those discussions that we have, but I know that they happen. And he always tells me, when and if you need to know, it's all there. It'll all be downloaded to you, and you'll have instant memory of what we talked about. And so then he later, okay. So then after this whole thing, like, I always felt, because the next thing is he passes, right? And I always felt like I should have asked, or I should have like pressured him to like give me more information, which, he probably did, but I just don't remember for obvious reasons. But then I was talking to him about it, and he said it wouldn't have mattered. It was going to happen regardless. There was nothing that I could have done at that point, which, if you think about it, like on astral, I'm not sure you can do very much into the 3D, like I wasn't there. And like, anyway, okay. So this is where everything gets really crazy. Not crazy, but like really weird. And if you guys have hung around with me for this long, I totally appreciate it. Okay, so on 6/25/09, I had a sewing business. I was hand sewing historical clothing. I was at a client's house and I was fitting this woman, and I was in her kitchen, and her kitchen, it's all about the kitchens. It's always about the kitchen. And her kitchen was like this really cute, like 1950s, 1960s kitchen. And I was standing in there while she was like getting her gown on. And I'm glad, Amazing Grace. And something happened. And the best way I can explain this, I'm going to explain it to you first the way I felt it. So everything stood still, like the energy, everything, it was just like dead. It was not only dead silence, it was like the world stopped. The energy just stopped. And you have to remember at that time, I wasn't I wasn't awake. Like I wasn't awake like I'm awake now. Like I was interested in dreams, and I was interested in, like the possibility of past lives. And I didn't even know that I did know that my twin was my twin, but that was like a brand new phrase at the time. So like to me, that was a major moment where everything just stopped. And I had no idea what happened, but it was big. It was huge. And I felt like the bottom just dropped out of the earth, right? It's just the weirdest feeling. And then to top it all off, like I had this, like I know what his energy is like from those dreams, right? And I felt pressure right here on my shoulder, and I felt that energy. And it didn't dawn on me. I had no idea what was happening. But I was just thinking, wow, this is weird. Why would I feel the same energy from, these dreams? And so I was totally, like, I was just energetically done. I had no energy left. It was just the weirdest thing. And I didn't know what was going on. But the moment the energy stopped, the world stopped, I knew that something massive happened. So I get done from this client's house. My husband, my then husband, picks me up, and we had to drive to city like an hour or so away. So on the drive there, we hear over the radio that Michael passed. And I thought it was a joke. And I was like, no, that's not possible. Like, it's not possible. And then they said it again, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I told my husband, I said, because they gave the death time, and I said, that's not the correct time. He died earlier than that, and um, and nothing much was said about it. It was just the weirdest thing, and like when people talk about like sorrow, or like grieving friends, grieving loved ones, it that whole thing was just really weird. Like my phone, I started getting, because Facebook was a thing back then. Um, People started like sending me notes saying, "We just heard the news. Are you okay?" And it's weird because when somebody likes somebody else's music, um, you you don't like it's I don't know, like I don't know how to explain this part, but people were just okay, just give me the right words to say. People were treating his death, and like my possibility of being sad, like a family thing. It was so strange. Um and I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that for some odd reason I knew some stuff, and I didn't think the time of death was correct. And like this was kind of affecting me in a weird way, not as like, oh, I liked his music, but like in a weird close family way. Um, so okay, so Red Scour says, have you had deja vu in your dreams? I feel like I know you from somewhere, and it's weird. Well, have I had deja vu in my dreams? I have deja vu here. So like sometimes I will dream something, which is in a future now. And then when I get to that future now, I will have deja vu. You feel like you've lived some of your dream. I mean, it's possible. It's very possible. You know, like if I know your soul and I let you like peek in to see what's going on, it's possible. Okay, so I had to put a note out on Facebook saying like you guys have to stop asking me if I'm okay. Like, and I was trying to play cool, right? I was like, I'm not gonna let it like bother me. Like I didn't even know the person, you know, but like I respect him, but I didn't know him, so I'm not gonna really let it bother me. But like inside, I was just so sad, and it was such a weird thing. I mean, I could try and explain this, but I don't think I can do it justice. So we're gonna move on. Okay. So at the end of the month, so at the end of June, there was a psychic fair in my hometown, and this is when I was just like experiencing this and like figuring it all out. So and I did all kinds of different things. Like Michael wasn't even on my mind. Okay. I was just so excited to like learn more about me and to like start this venture. I had my aura photography taken, and I had like my there's a woman there who like draws your guides, right? And I did a couple tarot readings and a couple past life things. It was just really fun. And every time I tried to record what they were saying, like on the old-fashioned tape recorder, it wouldn't record. It didn't record. So here's the bizarre thing to this whole thing. Every single psychic person I went to, I must have went to like 5 or so that day, kept saying, there is a man or a gentleman that just passed not that long ago, and he's hanging around. Do you have an idea who this is? And I was like, no, like nobody's died in my family. What the hell, right? So the next person, same thing. I was like, no, like I don't have anybody who died. Like, why are you guys asking me this question? This is creepy. And so after that, like I totally just dropped it because I just thought it was really weird. After that, I read in my journal about having this notion that he was like standing by my bed, and that like he like I felt him like kiss me on the cheek, and I sat up and like I saw him. I saw him standing by my bed, and then he disappeared. And like you would have thought the light bulb would have gone on, right? Well, the light bulb didn't go on. Because that's how naive, like it's not about being naive. It's about, I think it's about being very human. Like you try to rationalize how all this stuff is, right? Like it can't be real because you're taught that it's in dreams, and you're taught that like, well, people see ghosts, it's not that big of a deal. Like, and then you always teach to second guess yourself, right? So I think that's why I never really put much stock into the whole thing. And then also like I am like super naive, super innocent. I mean, I still am. Like my husband has to explain to me some jokes, and like I was just telling someone this today. Like that's the thing. Well, this is one of the things Michael and I have in common. We're both very galactic beings. We're both from the same soul. Well, okay, so like I don't know, soul group, yes, but there is something else besides soul group, and I'm not really sure how to explain that yet. Like your station. So you have like your station of being, of like what you are, what you're classified as, and then you have your soul group, right? So okay, so we're of that same station of being, if that makes sense. And so we both don't maybe make the best humans in the world because we just don't get it. Like we don't get the human. We just don't get it. Like I am just so stunned by just watching and hearing how humans interact and stuff. And so we're both like naive and innocent, and we just don't think about like normal adult human stuff. And I think that's kind of what got him in trouble even though like he would never ever hurt a child at all. Like in fact, in this SSP program, like he protects the children. It's like I'm not going to talk about that, but he's so innocent that like that's what gets you in trouble as an adult, and especially when you're a superstar entertainer person, because all eyes are always on you. Like if it's just me doing my own thing, no one's gonna care. Like it's just gonna be my small group of friends, and they're gonna be like, oh, like you're a little weird, but we love you anyway. But when you're in the spotlight and you have cameras on you all the time, and you just don't think about the way people see you, you know, it can get out of hand really quickly. And so, okay. So this is my big realization. You guys ready for this? Amazing Grace says, Rasha tu shin itue. Oh, that's beautiful. That is like a Sumerian, that's an early Sumerian Egyptian language. I love it. I love it. And actually, Michael is very connected. Michael and I are both very connected to the Egyptian culture. Like I don't know. I have to ask his permission if it's okay to like talk about some of these stories about like his past experiences. But when people say, "Oh, Michael Jackson was this in a past life," chances are they're wrong. Okay, I'm just gonna throw that out there. He was Egyptian. Yeah, he was Egyptian. He actually was. I can tell you guys this one because I've talked about this before. He's had many Egyptian incarnations, but he was a queen at one point. He was in the royal family. He was a queen, and her name was Tazareptet. But she got sick, and she didn't last very long. So he says she died pretty quickly. And so like there's this statue of him right at the Field Museum, and I was just there not that long ago, so I took a picture of it, and I keep forgetting to like show him it and like ask him, because I'm 100% sure. I'm 100% sure, and this is just me talking. This is not like him agreeing with me. I'm 100% sure that that was probably him in a past experience. As probably as a woman, but like, okay, I'm getting a little far ahead of myself. I could just tell stories all day long about this, but I do want to stick to an outline here. So, okay, so here's the big reveal. This is how I finally put everything together. Okay, so on 7/8 of 2009, there was the memorial for him, and I didn't watch it. I saw snippets of it, but I just didn't watch it. And they did this thing. Somebody went inside Neverland. I don't know who it was. I don't remember. But they were video filming inside the home in Neverland. So I'm like sitting there because my husband at that time, he was a workaholic. He was never ever home. So I was sitting by myself, as I always was, and I was watching this, and I started to have a panic attack. Is probably not quite the word, but I started to seriously freak out because as they were going down like the hallways and the corridors, I knew what rooms were coming up, and I knew where to go. Like this just totally blew my mind. Totally blew my mind. So of course I'm like, no, this is ridiculous. Whatever, just watch. Like they're gonna do something and you're gonna be like, oh, well, I didn't see that coming. So they go into the kitchen, and I think I just lost it. Like I don't know. Like now I look at myself in watching it, and like I just see like my mouth like just dropped open, just like staring at the TV. But the kitchen was exactly like in my astral experiences. Exactly. Like, because when I had that experience, I was thinking, well, that is like the weirdest kitchen in the world. Like, it's kind of a small-ish kitchen, even though like there's more around the backside, but like the part we were in was kind of small. And so that's why I told myself that that's like dumb. Like he would probably have a bigger kitchen than that, right? But no, it's the same exact kitchen. And so like that blew my mind. So then they go into this bedroom and I was like, holy crap. Like in my astral dreams, that is my bedroom. Like I'm still just astonished. I don't even know how to explain it. So then I'm like, okay, like that's got to be a coincidence, right? Got to be a coincidence. So then they start panning over like all of Neverland. And like it was a really quick pan, but I was like, oh my God, like that's the ponds. Like that's the ponds that we would like watch the stars and like talk philosophy and history and whatever and just hang out. Like, how is this happening? This is really weird. So I so I was like, there has to be an explanation for this. And I went to a friend who was more versed in these things at the time than I was. And I withheld the name because what are you going to say? Right. So I was like, I had this experience of this person that like I hang out with in like dreamland. But I've been to this person's house in dreamland and now like I've never been there in real life, but now that I have, like I know the whole house. Like how is this happening? And she told me that there in order for that to happen, there has to be a soul connection for that to happen. And I didn't know what to say. I was like, oh, okay. Okay, so like I had to sit on it for a few days. And I'm and the, so I'm sleeping and all of a sudden I jump straight up out of bed, out of sleep, and I say out loud, oh my gosh, the dead guy is Michael. So oh God, this sounds so ridiculous. So this is when I finally realized that the person that those psychic people were talking about, like that was a legit person. And like apparently there's some sort of connection that we have that I was able to do this. And like the whole thing is just really weird. And should I just forget this now that this happened? Because what do you do with this now that you have it, right? And I wasn't like I didn't my clairaudience wasn't good. Dream time, great. I had the best memory of my astral dreams. I could read his energy, so I knew like when he was at my bedside. I could see ghosts. I could see ghosts so well that sometimes I could see them in color. Um, but I didn't have the understanding that I have now. And I didn't trust myself. I think that was the I think that was the biggest learning experience from this. And then obviously like these journals to me are priceless because had I not done that, I would have forgotten all this stuff. Like I wouldn't have been able to tell you guys dates. Like I would have had a little bit of information that my like overloaded SSP brain can remember. I would have never been able to give you guys all this information. So I think the journals are really important. I think learning to believe in yourself is really important, and learning that when you're in dream time, it's not really dream time. Like you're doing so many other things on so many other levels. And just because you're here in the 3D body doesn't mean that you don't have soul connections other places. It doesn't mean that you're not connected to somebody who is now having a life of notoriety, right? I mean, like in the 3D, we place so much importance on these people who have like made it, and they command everybody's attention. Michael told me once, because Michael and Ramses the second, he's another person that I have a lot of experiences with and that I talk to. He told me once, because they're buddies, that he is good at commanding crowds, while Ramses is good at commanding an army. And at armies. And I just found that hilariously funny. I think about that sometimes when I'm having like down days, and I just started laughing because they couldn't be two of the more opposite people in the spectrum, and yet like they're really good friends. And so to see his experiences and then Ramsey's experiences, and like to have them like explain to you the same thing, it's just so wonderful to see like all these different points of view. And anyway, okay, so there's more. Um, all right. So I realized the dead guy was Michael. And after I realized this, after I made all these connections and put it together, it seemed like that was the key. Like I unlocked something because on Halloween of 2009, I had this amazing experience in the castle with him. And I have it here. I'm gonna try and like read you guys a little bit of it. So, okay. Like I reread my stuff so much that it like falls apart. Okay, so on Halloween of 2009, I I had this just really great experience. So I was in the castle. I was in the castle. Like in the castle, there's a kitchen, and like again, kitchen. And there's like this table where you know when you go to these restaurants and they have these booths that kind of wrap around and they're really squishy, and they have like it would be a fancier restaurant because um it would be like a velvet type of thing, and they have the buttons. Okay, so it's one of those that kind of curve around with this like 1950s 1960s like round table with the the metal strapping on the side, and then behind that this it's glass everywhere, like these old panes of glass. And so I drew little pictures in case I forget. So okay, so I'm sitting there like with my feet up having coffee or having tea, and um let's see. Okay, so I was sitting there and I was looking out the window and I was having coffee, and all of a sudden there was a knock at the door, and it was really quiet and meek. And I sat my tea down and I stared at the door, and I knew that knock. And I was a little surprised, and yet I wasn't. Like because in my castle, Beethoven was also there in like semi ghost form. But I used to be a student of Beethoven, so that would be why we have that connection. I didn't know that at the time. So like I wasn't surprised with Beethoven stuff happening, so why would I be surprised with like Michael stuff? So I was assured it was and was positive that it was Michael and he had come back for a visit. So the knob turned and his head peeked in the door, and when we saw each other we smiled, and I arose and we went to hug, and we both had tears, but they were happy tears. And I told him that I missed him, and he hugged me, and then he said, "I've missed you so much." And then he appeared. So like I was very interested after his death, like how he appeared in my astrals. So he appeared like he was in like his late 20s, early 30s. So just so you guys have like a visual. Okay, so we crawled in to the table, and I did, and he took a chair across from me, and then I said to him, and here's the thing, I said, "So are you glad to be home? You deserve it, you know, even though you are terribly missed here on Earth." And he smiled and he said, "I do, who wouldn't? But you forget a lot coming here." And he started playing with his cup. And then I said, "But you didn't forget. You didn't forget stuff." And he said, "I didn't remember everything I should have. And I didn't write down the rest of our conversation. But this dream continued for 3 days while we had all this discussion of like things he was proud of in this experience and things he could have done differently in this experience. And Lord knows like what else we talked about that I'm not, that I'm not remembering. But I just thought like that's a really cool thing, and that's something I can share with you guys. Okay, So then 2010 through 2012, there was a lot of personal things going on for me. I went through a divorce. I was homeless, and now I met my now husband, and I also started a business. so, so lots of crazy things. And he wasn't really around that I remember or that I wrote down. 2013, we moved into this house, and I felt him here all the time. Like he would hang out all the time, but then I would second guess myself. Um, there was this one moment where my husband works, he worked second shift, and he was ways away from work. So by the time he got home, it was like 12:31 in the morning. So George Norrie was always on. And George Norrie was talking about some Michael Jackson thing. And he said something. And in my brain, I remember thinking, oh, I don't think Michael would agree with that. And all of a sudden, it was like a dress shoe kicked this metal lamp, this floor lamp that we have. And it was really, really loud. And like, I just knew that he was there. And I even joked to my husband when he came home that Michael was there, even though I didn't really believe it. Like, okay. So in 2014, I started speaking my light language, which I had spoken when I was little, or my galactic languages. And 2015, I had twin stuff, lots of twin stuff, late at night, candles. Oh, okay. So in 2015, I had this experience with Michael where there was a lot of twin stuff happening, and I was trying to figure out like why my journals were missing dates. Like why had I known my twin longer than what my journal says? Just really weird things. Things weren't adding up, and stuff was. I was having a really bad day. My husband was gone. He was working, doing something. He was traveling, and so I had all the candles lit in the living room, and I have this this 1920s grand piano, and it's like it used to be the love of my life. And I was playing it, but I have like these specific twin songs that I play for the that like when I'm really like mourning or having problems with the twin that I play. And this was the first time I had like physically seen him in a long time. I was sitting on the bench by candlelight, uh, and I turn over, and like clear as day, he was sitting there with me on the bench and turned and smiled at me. And then of course I look again, and like I didn't see him, but it was just that was really weird. So then let's skip to 2017, on 7/11 of 2017, which I like the 7, the 11, and the 17, which is 8. And okay, those are all really important numbers. I heard him for the first time talking to me in my ear. That was when my clairaudience came in. And the first time I was like, this totally can't be happening. This is just really weird. Uh, and he's like, no, it's me. Like, really, like, trust yourself. And I was like, hey, what's going on? I haven't heard from you in a while. And he's like, I've been thinking, I have this really great plan. And I was like, oh, okay, what's your plan? And so he had like hatched this plan of like he wanted to come back to Earth. But he wanted to be in my family. And I was like, no, this is a really bad idea. This is a really bad idea. And he's like, well, you think about it, and you just let me know. And I was like, no, this is not happening. It's not a good idea. So, and for those of you who don't know, he already has at least 2 fractals here. And I always meant to do a video about fractals. According to Michael, fractals are flying everywhere. And basically a fractal, how do I explain this? Me right here, right now, as this soul, as this person with these experiences, I can split myself up into 7 different pieces, and I can give those pieces to people to like help them or to guide them or to whatever. Like they can be put in their essence, right? So he has some here, and I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it. Hang on. No. Okay. I maybe it's something I can talk about later. But there is one person of notoriety that he has fractals in, that people are actually kind of suspicious of already. But I didn't know that. I didn't know who this person was. So when he told me who this person was, I like looked at him and I was like, I'm just gonna tell you. So it's The Weeknd. I don't know if you guys know The Weeknd. I didn't know The Weeknd. So he's like, it's The Weeknd. And I looked at him and I was like, Saturday and Sunday, The Weeknd? And I start cracking up. And he has this very serious face on and he goes, yes, The Weeknd. And he was actually really, it was like, yes, The Weeknd. And I said, what a ridiculous name. And he goes, well, he actually, what did he say? Something like, he actually has quite the following and you should listen to him sometime or something like that. And so I was like, okay, Michael, I will go check out The Weeknd. So anyway, he has a couple other fractals here, but now that I don't know if I was supposed to say that. He said it's okay. Okay. So, all right. October of 2017. This is the first time it like dawned on me. Like I had all the, like I should have guessed it, right? I should have guessed it. But I didn't. And I didn't really think about it. And we didn't have, like I heard him, but we didn't really have like face-to-face communication. But I was with a channeler on October of 2017. And I was in this channeling session. And I was talking to Kerr, who's a Lyran. And Kerr stopped. And there's like a lineup. There's always like lineups of people who want to talk to you, right? And she said, well, who else would you like to talk to? And I said, I have no idea. She goes, well, Michael's here. He'd like to give you a message. And I was like, Archangel Michael? And she goes, no, Michael Jackson. And I was like, what? No, that's not, no. And so it took me a little bit to like get over that. So he always like, he talked through her for the first time to give me my message. And then after that, I started like, I was having more channeling sessions because I was trying to figure out what I am. Like I was trying to figure out what I am, and I was trying to figure out like how to listen to me and like all this stuff. And so I was asking questions and I said, so how is our connection? Like, how does that actually work? And I was told that we have had a lot of connections throughout history and that our souls connected, a very family connection. And in fact, on one of the planets of the Pleiades, that we actually have a parallel life going as brother and sister. We'll just leave it there. And that you guys are really close. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that totally makes sense. Like he's always like trying to protect me. And then Kerr was like, he's always trying to school you too in things that he should have done better. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, so that makes sense. And so, hi, Kira, are you going to join us? Kira the cat is going to join us. And so in 12/10, at the end of 2017, I had this really bizarre astral dream. And I don't know, he told me to write it down in the morning. And so I wrote it down. But I think it was more of a test than anything. So I wrote it down, and then at the end, he's like, by the way, this is Lyra. This is like the planet Lyra. And it was this really bizarre dream where like, I didn't know him, but like I had a hunch that it was him, and that I finally got ticked off with the whole thing. And I was like, I know who you are. Like, I'm not a dummy. And he goes, why didn't you say something earlier? And I said, listen, like we're on this like planet. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who's like trying to be you or all this stuff. I said, you have to be careful. You just can't like assume. You can't just assume that, you know, like everything's all hunky-dory. And so that was a really interesting experience. And then between 2018 and 2019, there was a lot of auto writing. So he pretty much like I mean, we still chit chat about really random things. Like, you have to understand that I don't know the I don't know the superstar, right? I don't know the superstar. I know the soul, not the superstar. So you kind of have to make that differentiation between the two. Um, but he's always like sending me these writings, these automatic writings that are like helping me on my journey and helping me like keep the faith and helping me like because it's all about love and like really cool. Oh, I'm sorry, really cool, really cool lessons. And I have tons and tons of not tons. I have like 2 journals full of stuff that like he's written, and it's not like personal stuff. It's just really great. Like you could probably make a book out of it. It can help anybody. It's not just personal to me, but in that moment it was. And then 2019, crazy things happened. Not only was I like communicating with him through clairaudience and like he loves to hang out in the library and I can see him sitting in the chair sometimes and like he absolutely adores the cat. It's really funny that Kira came. He absolutely adores Kira. And he always makes fun of like Beethoven back there because he says that he doesn't like that statue because he's always grumpy and he should smile more. And that in astral or like on the other planes, when he talks to him, he's a lot happy. He's a lot more happy. He's a lot happier now. And so I just find like the random things that he says just really hilariously funny to me because they're so I don't know, like we're talking about something and then he'll just like randomly interrupt me with like a new topic or like I love that. I love the fact that like like if I don't know, like if he thinks it's really important, he'll just like tell it to me and just randomly interrupt me. So I had this experience with him through a channeler, okay, through a channeler, and I didn't expect to talk to him, but he's whenever like I do have a channeling thing, he's always there. He always wants to talk, and I was trying to figure out my I was trying to put the pieces together of my super soldier experience, and I'm not going to touch a lot on this, but um, he really helped me through the whole thing. He was involved in the program, and um, hang on just one second. Okay. Okay, so he was involved in the program, and the one thing, like he calls it planting seeds. So there's like stuff that he talks about or that he brings up, and then it's like awkward for me, so I changed the subject. Like we both do that. I was talking about an astral experience I had with him once, and like it was awkward, and so he changed the subject, and he changed the word. The word was similar to Anunnaki, so he just randomly started talking about Anunnaki because he didn't want to talk about what I was talking about. So, where was I going with this? Oh, hang on. Are you making me sneeze? So my nose is like all itchy now. Hang on. Okay. So while I was putting this whole thing together, he was really my go-to person to help me with this. And the one thing he kept telling me was, they killed me, they killed me. And it was really awkward. So I would always change the subject. Because it was too 3D. It's weird when you have a really good channeler and you know the person's mannerisms from astral. And that person brings the person through so well that like those mannerisms are exact, and even like the way the words come out, like they're exact. It's just a really bizarre, it's just really bizarre. And so, um, he kept dropping things, and he kept saying, well, they killed me. And I didn't want to talk about it. I really, really didn't want to talk about it. And I'm not going to talk about it now, but this is all in relation to Super Soldier and like all kinds of crazy stuff. But the cool thing is not only did he like walk me through the whole thing, but he flipped it, because he always does. He can flip anything that's like horrible, bad, or like the way we see it here in the 3D, you know, you have good and bad. He can flip it, and he can always find something good. And he would say things like, well, we, you know, like we didn't know what we were signing up for. We thought we knew what we were signing up for, but good things did come out of it. We saved a lot of children, you know, we did this, we did that. So like everything he put a good spin on, and he really taught me that it's all in how you perceive things. It's all in how you look at it. And so that really, really helped me out. And there was this one time where we were having, I was writing down conversations. So what happens when I do this is I will write down a question in my journal. He'll answer it. I'll write down the answer. I'll write down the next question, and he'll answer it. Or like if he asks me a question, I'll write it down, and then I'll try and write, you know, my answer as well. And I asked him once, I said, like, when you come through and I'm hearing you, it's like, I always ask him this. I say, like, when I see you, am I really seeing you? Am I really hearing you? And he's like, yes, you are. You got to stop doubting yourself. And he said that I translate things right 95% of the time, or something like that, 98% of the time. And I was like, whoa, like that's really crazy. And so I feel really good about my translations of stuff, and like what he tells me, I'm able to like actually get it down. And I'm not like hindered, because I'm not trying to channel him. I don't have to try to channel him. I'm not trying to sway things one way or another. Like we're friends. Like it is what it is. Just like, you know, with like my friends down the street, like I don't expect anything of them. I don't assume that they're a specific way. Like they just are the way they are, and I love them regardless. And especially when you're in your full soul self, right? And you're complete. Like it's different than having your one-sided earth viewpoints of everything. Everything is so well rounded, and I think that's probably why he's able to like look at things from a really full perspective. And so yeah, so he was the one who really helped me through it. I was having very vivid remembrances of stuff, and like we had this experience together, like, because he was channeling, and like I was crying through the whole thing. I was absolutely crying, and like it was really hard for him. Like you could tell that he was trying not to cry, but it was weird because it wasn't a channeler's voice, it was his voice. It was just really weird. But moving on from that, like things are a lot better now, and I'm back to myself. I'm back to my old self. And like I asked him once, I said, are you here a lot? Because I think you're here a lot. Like I feel you a lot. And he's like, I am. And I said, well, what do you see when you're here? Like, can you see the cats? Do you see energy? What do you see? And he said he sees energy, but he also can see like heat. Like if you would take a heat gun, I guess, I don't know what you call it, but you know how you can see the outlines of the different heat. Like if the cat is really hot, you can see that it's a cat because it registers hotter. So he said he sees energy, but he would much rather, even though he can see energy and he can like come hang out and he can talk to me, it still has to go through everything, and I have to translate it. So he much rather would like talk to me face to face. And I had some questions about how this whole thing should go, because he's taught me some really good lessons through this whole thing, and just stuff that I really want to share. And I could say, well, my guide said this, or I learned this, and I could leave his name out totally, and it wouldn't bother me. But I do, like, I feel like you should give credit where credit is due, right? Like, if regardless of who my guide is, like, if whatever, if it was Beethoven or whatever, like, I would like to say, my guide Michael said this and taught me this, and this is what I learned, and it's super amazing. And so I asked him once about that, and I said, is it like a bad thing if I use your name? Because I don't want to be known as like that person, right? Because this is really weird and awkward, and like, who would believe you anyway? And he said it doesn't really matter. You can use my name if you want. Otherwise, you can just say it's my guide. He's like, it doesn't. He said people. He said people perceive things in a really strange way, and it doesn't matter because you can't control the way people see things. And so, like, I totally get it, but so now, if I say on my channel, if I'm like, hey, Michael taught me this, or Michael said this, or whatever, that's who I'm referring to. I'm referring to Michael, and he's got really great catchphrases like the now's now. Like, you guys have probably heard me say that, right? The now's now. That's his phrase. That's not my phrase. We were in a really old house, old museum, and it was like a haunted museum, and we had the voice box. We had the voice box, and a couple of friends and her daughters, and I knew he was there. I was like, well, why don't you go sit in that chair and like come hang out with us? And I knew he was, and so I said, if you're here for the girls, because they're young kids, right? I said, say something in the voice box. And so the voice box said, hello, music, dance, Michael, or something like that. And the girls are like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So we contacted this one spirit who was she was actually like hanging out under the table, and we wanted to tell her that like she doesn't have to like hang out there anymore, and that we can help her. And so I said to her, I said, you see the guy like sitting in the chair over there? He can help you. Like, go talk to him. He will help you. You don't have to stay here anymore, right? Like, there's better things to do. So a couple of weeks pass, and I finally get a chance to talk to him. And I said, did you talk to that woman under the table? And he's like, I did. And I said, what did she have to say? And he's like, I had a lot to say to her. I said, your now is not the best now. There's better nows. There's better nows out there. So I'm like, there's better nows for those nows out there. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah. He's like, that's my joke to like show how ridiculous all these different nows are, but it's good differentiation so you can understand what now I'm talking about, because the now's now. He goes, because the now's now. And I was like, yes, the now's now. That's so every once in a while I'll say the now's now. But apparently she didn't want to go anywhere. He tried to like coax her and like help her out, and she didn't want to go anywhere. So this is my story, and maybe at some point I'll talk to you guys about like the past lives that we've had together. They're really cool. There are a lot of like family lives, and so this is the other thing that like drives me buggy about people who. I have to blow my nose. Hang on just 1 second. I don't know if this will work. Okay. So this is the one thing that bothers me about people who, and I'm not saying that like they can't contact him, because he actually works with a lot of people. Like, I'm not special. There's a lot of people that he communicates with and that, he works with. I'm just one of the many. But a lot of these channelers who like actually have no clue. Like, he told me once, he's like, they're not channeling me. And I was like, well, that's what I'm asking, because I'm thinking not. I'm thinking they're not really channeling you. Um, they say, well, Michael belongs to the Pleiades, or Michael's Palladian, or Michael's Vesuvian, or Michael's blah blah blah. Well, Michael's not any of those. Michael is a creator being. That's what Michael is. And a creator being, how do I explain this? A creator being is sometimes grouped in a lot of angels, right? So a lot of times people like group creator beings and angels together. They're actually like different, but they're like, if you want to talk about like status, they're like somewhat close, right? So like creator beings create, just like Michael created here on Earth, right? They can create planets, they can create universes. They don't really create. If they create life, they create like the building blocks of life, right? But it's always like, so the way I understand it is that like you create with the help of God. Like God tells you, this is how it was explained to me. God tells you, what he would like to create. And then you as creator beings have like some leeway, like as long as you create what, God was like, let's create. But you have some leeway with it. And creator beings create like the beginnings of life, but like usually other advanced civilizations, other advanced like the Anunnaki, go in and they usually genetically manipulate life. Like creator beings don't do that. Creator beings just create. And Michael is a creator being. And so has he had lifetimes on like Pleiades? Yes, he's actually quite fond of his lifetimes on Pleiades. And he still has lifetimes on Pleiades because he has one in a parallel reality right now. It's, timelines are not linear like we think of them as linear. But he does really like Earth. He likes what did he tell me that one time? The density. Okay, I don't know. I just heard I like the density of Earth, but like the density of Earth, because there's so many wonderful things that can be created on Earth. And like he came in. Okay, so here's the thing. He came in with a mission, right? Like those of you guys who know him, he was all about like the planet and like raising the vibration. And actually he was like so many firsts, right? But I think most of all, he had a connection to so many people because those star seeds, those new star seeds that were coming in, they maybe didn't remember quite what the story was or like what their mission was, but like through his music, he made a connection to so many people, so many star seeds and so many like light workers to help them start their missions, to get them back on track. And without him being here and without him raising the vibration of the planet, like when you think of one person, like what one person accomplishes in their lifetime, uh, for the planet. I mean, he did so much for raising the vibration and getting all of us who like have memory loss, right? Like on the right track, even if we didn't know what we were supposed to be doing or we didn't know why we resonated with his music. This is all like a big plan in the whole raising of the vibration of the planet. This isn't like happenstance, right? And I think when someone comes in who is so multiverse, like doesn't even describe what I'm trying to say, who is so faceted in so many like universes and worlds and like so big, like we can't even comprehend how big like he is, like how big his soul is, and like what he can all accomplish and what he's all done. it is going to change the vibration of the planet. And I think that's why when he passed, I felt that drop, like that silence, where like you could tell a massive energy was just gone that was once there. And so remember when I told you that I was in that home? I was with the fitting. So this is this is important. I'm glad we worked back to this. So when I was talking to Kerr about this, when I was still piecing everything together, even though like I knew, right? I just didn't. I didn't know. It's not that I didn't want to believe it. I just didn't like. I think you think, well, what does that mean for yourself? Like what does that? I don't know. What does that hold you to? What does that make you? What does that say about you? What is that like? What side of the coin are you going to be on? Are you going to be on the crazy side? Or are you going to be on like the? I don't know. But Kerr said that. She said, "Oh, this is what his message for me was." Hey, David. She said that he wanted to tell you that when he passed, you were one of the first that he came to tell you that he was okay. And I know when he came and told me that was when I was standing in that woman's house, and I felt that hand on my shoulder. And there's just been so many crazy aha moments that I've had through this whole experience that there's no definite way someone could. I mean, there's always going to be people who say, well, like, you're crazy. But if you look at how all the journalings that I did and how I documented all my experiences, and then how I still didn't believe, and then I had to be told by himself that this was actually happening, and how learning that and believing in myself and having him help me like progress, with my clairaudience and progress and just making me more confident and a better light worker, or even like a better galactic human. Like, I mean, let's face it. Like I told him once, I said, I'm just so thankful that you're here because I don't feel so lonely. Like a lot of us star seeds and a lot of us galactic humans and light workers, like we just feel lonely. We're always searching for our home, right? Like, even though I have a home and I love my home, and like my home is my home is like my little cave where I just don't come out of very much. You still kind of miss that soul home, right? But like realizing and accepting wonderful friendships on the other side and your guides, and listening to them. Although let me tell you, I don't always listen to things that he tells me. And he says to me, he says, you have free will. You don't have to listen to me, but if you don't listen to me, you're going to see why I told you that. And so like, I've gotten really good now at like taking his words to heart. Like if he tells me something and I listen, sometimes just to be a jerk, like I'll be like, yeah, no. But overall I do listen pretty well. So yeah, I think we need to remember him as the amazing being that he is, and he's not gone. He's definitely not gone. I mean, he's got fractals here on Earth. Like he's not gone. He's still doing so much work for the planet. There was one time where I said, well, you haven't been around lately. What's been going on? And he said, well, we have so much work to do on the grids. That's where I've been spending most of my time. So, like it's weird from a human perspective to think that like when people pass, that's it. But are you going to come on? Okay. But that's not it. And, he told me of like this group of people in astral, like when we weren't doing like stuff with the castle, or like when I wasn't like honing in on these important meetings that I just felt totally out of place with, that there was a group of friends, he calls them friends, that would get together and we would just go fix portals and go fix stargates and go fix earth things. And that was fun, and we had a lot of fun doing it, because when you're with people you like, it's always fun. And so you can still get a lot of work done. Like that's his thing. Like you can still get a lot of work done and you can have fun doing it. And I think there's just so many wonderful things that he has taught us over the years. I want to continue to be able to pass this stuff on, but I don't like I'm not here to like get a whole bunch of followers because I have a connection. Like if that makes sense. I just the people who you guys who are watching now, like that's what's important to me. Because for whatever reasons you guys are watching, whether it's the story or whether it's the experiences, that's what it's for. It's not for the person of notoriety. It's for an amazing soul who still has so much to teach us. So I think that's what I wanted to say. That's what I want to say about the whole thing. And with every experience here, we look at things as good and bad. And like the one time he told me, he's like, I know things are really hard right now, but they won't be in the future. And there's so many, he's like, whenever you're feeling really low, you have to try and remember that there's children without parents. There's people grieving. There's people, he said, there's so many people who are having a harder time than you are. And it's not that your current feelings aren't important, but that you're so blessed in so many ways, and we have to send love to all those that need it. We have to send love to the children. We have to send love, to the single moms. We have to send love to the people who are needing, who are hungry. He's all about caring and loving and taking care of people, and making them realize the power within themselves, like making them realize that they are just as powerful as he is, as like a soul being. And that like he did do some things wrong in his 3D life, but at the same time, they're learning experiences. And what do you expect when like a soul like that, who's like super galactic, who's like not even, I mean, galactic, but like just energy, like comes in to a human frame and then like sets it up in such a way that it's just hardship after hardship after hardship, and who just constantly like is so innocent and naive. Like you don't really think about those things. Like, yeah, things are gonna go wrong, but like the people who really understood him and knew what he was here for, and like really understood his soul, like that's what matters. It's not what everybody else says or what like these mockumentaries are saying. Like when you know the soul of the person, you just know that they only shine love. And sometimes other planets can be a little difficult, I think. So yeah. So do you guys have any questions? If I can answer them, I will definitely answer them. But you guys are really awesome for like sticking with me. Kira came back to hang out. So this has been good. I was really, so like, while you guys type your questions, if you have any, I'll tell you what happened last night. So I was laying in bed last night and I was like, hey, Michael. And he's like, hey, what? And I was like, so like, apparently it's your anniversary tomorrow. And he's like, yes, it is. And I said, so shouldn't I like do something? And he's like, well, what are you thinking? And I said, well, like now would be a really good time to just tell my story and my experiences. And like, there was this, it was kind of quiet. And I was like, maybe this isn't such a good idea. And he goes, well, how do you feel about it? And I said, well, I'm really nervous, but I just feel that it's really important. And if I'm going to do it, now would be the best time. He's like, okay. He's like, let's say, he's like, what would you say? You just tell me, what would you say? So I went over the whole thing with him. And like, after he's like, yeah, he's like, this is good. This is good. And then today there was a comment about an adoption, some adoption starseed thing. And like, if you guys know me, you know that I have spent a lot of my years studying the starseed adoption stuff. And I didn't expect any connections, but someone wanted me to PM them, and I did. And like there was all these connections connecting back to Michael, and like this person was like making their own connections. And so it was just a really wonderful, happy day. You know, I mean, he came here to do what he did, and he did an amazing job. So there's nothing to be sad about. He is just totally rocking it on the other side. You know, it's just he's not sad. Don't listen to anybody who says he's sad. That's ridiculous. So look at 4, it's 11:14, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's another 7. So yeah, do you guys have any questions about this? I'm so thankful that you guys are so like loving and accepting and like not saying I should be in like a straitjacket or anything anything like that, you know. You guys don't have any questions? I'm gonna pull a card. Just because I brought up two decks. Okay. Yeah, okay. You're kind of in my shuffling way, Kira. Okay. Do you have anything? Do you have anything you want me to say? That make something on a card. This is very much Michael. It says, remember that you are on a path. Take one step at a time to happiness. I actually can't see if you guys can see this. Hang on just one second. There you go. I can link these up too, just to make sure. Oh, look, Saint Germain. Karma releasing. Move beyond drama. Create your own path and make room for good energy. That's a very much Michael thing too. Let me look this up. Saint Germain. I don't think I've ever had Saint Germain before. Saint Germain was born in France in the 18th century. It's said to have given a new identity because he was the love child of two very powerful people. He was well educated and able to rub shoulders with royalty. He was so deeply interested in magic, alchemy, and the cosmos, and able to perform real-life miracles and turn lead into gold, that now he helps us move beyond the social limitations to connect with the right people for the highest good. He's still a master alchemist and is able to help us turn whatever is lead-laden in our life into something that is golden. His twin flame is Lady Portia, and she is the keeper of the violet flame, the powerful etheric retreat where we can release karma. Karma is a spiritual law of cause and effect. We experience many levels of karma. Some we inherit from our family, and some from people we keep helping out with problems as they keep creating. Saint Germain is here now to clear your energy so that you no longer have the weight of the world, that's great, or your loved one's world on your shoulders. Be aware that an old pattern is leaving your life and creating space for something more loving to enter. Visualize yourself surrounded by the fiery violet cloak to release any and all karma that you no longer need. And I love how it's got all this like alchemy symbols, and it's got the Egyptian wings there. That's really cool. All right, let me pull you guys back up. All right. Let me try this one too. That one was the Keepers of the Light. That one was this one. The new one that I'm pulling from is the Lightworker one. How cool is that? Okay. Okay, check out this card. It's very Egyptian, remember the time video. Oh, I do have a story about the remember the time video. I can tell you guys that story. So anyway, this is transformation. Things are changing at a cellular level with deep healing. So, and the other thing about Michael is that, like, DNA, he's worked on a lot of DNA projects, just like throughout lifetimes. So I love that they got the strand. This is very remember the time-ish transformation. Is there a transformation 90? All right, let me pull you guys back up so I can see what's going on. Okay, so transformation. Things are changing at a cellular level. You are not who you were a year ago or who you will soon be. Isn't that true? Like when you think of my story about how things change, you are not who you were a year ago or who you will soon be. And that's true for all of you guys too. You are in between, emerging, half risen, half falling. Keep doing the work and you are transforming. You will look back at this time with awe. So much is happening in your inner world and within yourselves. It's time to release the old ways of being that have kept you in fight, flight, freeze mode, to choose a new way of being where trauma is not the driving force. Old childhood patterns are rising up to be healed. As you allow yourself to observe them and feel them without attachment, they loosen their grip and fall away. You are being called to find new ways of self-soothe. Self-soothe. Saturn and the Black Madonna and the African goddess Oshan influence this card. Saturn represents the destruction and transformation. The Black Madonna represents the underground and all that it has been cast aside. The Oshan represents the tender love of the original mother. A rethreading is happening, healing the deepest of all levels. While you are in this phase, don't put yourself under pressure to perform. You may need to review relationships with your body, perhaps even shifting your diet or exercise, or getting energetic healing support. You may also need to consider some kind of emotional support as issues from your childhood may come up to be healed. You are deeply loved. How crazy is that? Okay, so they were talking about the Black Madonna, the goddess Ocean, and then the original mother. And so, like, if you think about it, the whole childhood thing, obviously, I mean, we could talk for hours on that, but like, it's fun. It's fun to be a kid and not have those worries as adults. And, but the black or white thing, the whole Egyptian thing, the mother thing, because, you know, Michael's energy is very loving and very feminine and just like all encompassing, makes you feel good, right? So let me tell you this story really. Yeah, I have all these stories that just randomly come up. So we were talking about, I asked him once, I said, so tell me about that Egyptian video that you made. And like, I don't know all this stuff. Like, so I forget things. Like there's a lot of people who'd be like, oh, like this and that and that. Like, I don't remember anything like that. So I was like, you know, that Egyptian video. And he goes, what? You mean remember the time? And I said, yeah. I said, tell me about that video. I said, why did you make that video? And he goes, well, because I love Egypt. And I said, okay, but like the people in the video, like, what's the deal? He goes, oh, he goes, I once had a dream that I was in ancient Egypt. And at the time I thought maybe I had a past life as King Tut. But he goes, this is just so funny. I'm sorry. Okay. So he goes, I thought I might have had a past life as King Tut. But then when I got over to the other side, when I got over to the side I'm on now, I realized that it wasn't King Tut, that it was, what's that name? I can't even think of her name now. Tezareptet. And so I just like, there's just really funny stories that I have tons of them that I will just remember that we've talked about in the past. But anyway, that's a that's a great one. And yeah, okay. So let me see it. Let me just look through these. Amazing Grace says, "Hi, beautiful temple." Hello, beautiful, amazing Grace. Hi, Red Skywalker. Hey, Carol. I know truth bombs are totally scary. I feel really good though. Like it's amazing. It's amazing when you step into that power and you're like, this is me and I don't really care. It's an amazing, liberating feeling. Also, because I've been thinking about this for days. Actually, the first thing I was thinking about for probably like a week and a half was that it's probably time to tell you the Ramses story, the Ramses past life, as Ramses II story. Which I hadn't been able to do because it's very personal and it's like still semi going on in this life. But I was gonna do that, and then all of a sudden, someone was like, "Hey, did you know that tomorrow is his anniversary?" So I was like, "Okay, maybe we should do this instead." All right. And I think he told me once, because this says remembrance of childhood memories and energies that were epic. I'm feeling it again. That's the thing. Like he was all about. I mean, maybe he like screwed up here and there, but like he was all about being in touch with your inner child, right? And once you can see the world through that inner child's eye, you can connect to what is you can connect to so much more of what the world really is and what the world really has to offer. And that's really important. Yes, Amazing Grace, that's really important. There's a lot of people that think that they know me, and I think I know why. Um, but I'm not quite ready to discuss that. But remember how I said Michael and I are kind of from the same cloth, cut from the same cloth. So I've been around a lot. Maybe not in this life, but like my energy is very recognizable. Goosebumps are good. Goosebumps are a sign of truth. When you have goosebumps or when you have shivers, that is my sign of truth. Soul talks. Yes, totally soul talks. Teshe tu. This is so cool. So Amazing Grace. This I'm gonna probably butcher it, but I'll do the best I can. Teshe tu shuni utu bin te kishu. That is Sumerian. That is Sumerian. Yes, soul groups do recognize each other. That is so true. I mean, people talk about soulmates and twin flames, and like you just know. Like I was in Mexico. I was on a family trip in Mexico, and one of the activity staff there, like I recognized him. I recognized him from my soul tribe, and I was like, "Holy crap!" And he recognized me too, and we didn't even know each other. I'm glad you think this is epic. Yes, and I sleep a lot. And the thing with Michael is, we talked about this once, is that a lot of us, how should I put this? A lot of us light workers, a lot of us galactic humans, we don't sleep well. And the reason is because we are working on a multiverse. Okay. And so when normal humans would have their time to sleep, and a lot of humans are still gridded in. I mean, we're like repairing things, so hopefully that's not going to always be the case. But a lot of humans are gridded in, especially when they're in 3D, to like certain experiences in their dream state. But those who are awake and aware get to pretty much travel anywhere they want. And the thing is, on Astral, you meet all your other yous that are experiencing things. And so for us who are working constantly all the time on Astral, we don't get good sleep. And that was one of the things that Michael talked to me about. And he said, it was just really hard because he was doing so much work on Astral, and it didn't really dawn on him, I guess kind of like myself, it didn't really dawn on him what was happening until close to the end of his life. But the problem was that he was like a workaholic, that he needed good sleep, and he was never getting good sleep because he was always waking up exhausted. And that happens to me too, constantly. And I'm taking, I take tons of naps and stuff like that. But that is one of the reasons he needed help sleeping. And I asked him once, I said, do you remember astral experiences that we had? Like let's say if it was in the 3D, would you have recognized me? Like if whatever in a crowd, like let's say you're at Disney World or whatever. And he said something like he didn't put the pieces together right away, but there was like, this is where he starts talking about the group of people that are like the soul family that like always work together, and that yes, like he would have recognized it, and he did put 2 and 2 together of like his soul family, who came to like help do earthwork and stuff. But again, that's one of the reasons he didn't sleep really well. Prince, David Bowie, and others come through spiritual work too. Yes, so much. David Bowie only comes to me when he's got very serious messages of things that I'm planning in my head that should be done a different way. Then David comes in. Carol says, I feel like he's moved or changed his expression. He looks grumpier. Yeah, he always looks like that. I have so many Beethoven statues. I adore Beethoven. You are very welcome. I'm so happy I was able to share this. And I totally agree, Carol. You guys that are here are totally meant to be here right now. I'm glad you could share this experience with me. And I'm glad that like it was cool with Michael to like share this. He doesn't really care, although I think I care more so because I asked him once, I said, so if I would like tell everything that I know about like government programs and all this information that I know, like what would happen? And he kind of looked at me and he was like, I don't know very many people who have survived. So it was kind of like a please don't do it. So I try to be very careful about what I say, but at least giving enough information that you guys can figure it out, or, give you enough information that you get the gist of it. Yes, we will. Okay, David, I don't know. You probably should not be drinking if that's the case. Yes, if there are questions, feel free to ask me in private. You guys can email me at yourtemplebeautiful@gmail.com. We have Your Temple Beautiful on Facebook as well. Childhood wonder is so important. Yes, We Are the World, A Man in the Mirror. Oh, so great. Oh, I keep coming up with these like little stories. So this weekend, I had to go to Walmart we're prepping for a big Jane Austen festival in Louisville, Kentucky that we'll be traveling for. And I had to get some supplies. I had to get some ribbons and stuff. And so I had this CD, this Michael Jackson CD in the car. And it was this like Hold My Hand song, which I don't know. We had a discussion about this once about like how much they had to like use his voice or something like that. I don't know. It was this long discussion about like how he never really got to finish that song and stuff. But that's one of my favorite songs. And so I listened to it. That's like the only CD. It's like the only CD I like own. But I listened to it when I was in the car, and it was like kind of going through the tracks as I was driving, and I wasn't really paying attention because I don't like a lot of the hard beat-ish songs. I like a lot of the softer songs. And so I look over in the seat because like I felt him. I look over in the seat and I see him there, like he's all strapped in his seatbelt, and like he looks at me with this big grin, and then I look again and he's gone. And then the CD in the truck stops. And I was like, what's going on? And it turned back to that #1 song, that Hold My Hand song. And so, I don't know. I just have all these really fun things that happen. Um, I feel like I'm from every galaxy. Well, see, that's the thing, Red Skywalker. People like to put themselves in boxes and say, "Oh, well, I'm Palladian and I'm Syrian and I'm blah blah blah." But the galaxy is much bigger than this, and because we are currently in this galaxy, these are the ones that we work with because they are all working with Earth right now to raise the vibration. So those are the ones we identify with. But like we're so vast, it's it's yeah. Okay, David, you have a question. Well, you need to write your question down below. That language comes through a lot around you. I love that language. That is one of my that that language. Yes, I have a story about that language. But the first time I heard that language being spoke by somebody else, I had a past life, a past timeline experience where I jumped back into that body that I was on that timeline, and I couldn't tell. I thought it was an Egyptian thing, but like the Sumerian and Egyptian, those things were so close. It's very easy to get them confused. And I have gotten timelines confused before just because I only see glimpses sometimes of them. And like I have to judge by the clothing and by, like the furnishings and stuff like that. And when I first heard that, there was like some serious sexy talk. Sexy talk. Like I don't, that's probably not the right word for it, but like it was really it was really I don't know, I always call it Egyptian sexy time, but after a while I learned that it is actually Sumerian, but that it's very close to Egyptian. So that is one of my times. That's one of my times, Sumerian. Okay. Yes, Earth Song. Earth Song is a great one too. Definitely. I mean, there's other artists out there who like do a lot for the world, but who was the one who really started that? I mean, that was Michael. Like nowadays, a lot of the songs are like I'm getting old. I can't even follow some of the music these days, but like he really stepped out there and like made it about the earth and the planet and like he sometime I'll have to write some of this stuff down, but I have this automatic writing somewhere where he said the only way the earth is going to change is if people, I don't remember exactly how he phrased it, but it was something like if people change themselves or if people look at themselves. And this is how ridiculous I am. It didn't dawn on me until like 2 weeks later that was kind of like the whole what song is that? the change Man in the Mirror song. But yeah, but it's really important. Like he's all about you have to like change yourself, and I understand that now in a different way than I did before because um each one of you are the key to changing the world. It's not like it's great to go help the third world countries and stuff. It's great to do that. It's great to set up schools and stuff like that because you're changing other people's lives, but you have to change your own life. You have to realize who you are. The twin, it was the twin, who, well, it was being adopted was the first thing that really pushed me to like figure out what's really going on. And it was the twin who was the second one to really push me to figure out what was going on. And then, Michael and Ramses really pushed me to figure out what's going on. And through that and learning, and even like changing old belief patterns and stuff like that, that's how I learned all this stuff. That's how I learned who I really am. That's how I learned that I can jump to any timeline, but the whole point of like you guys working on your timelines is that you can fix that specific time, and then that portion erases. And once we can erase those crappy experiences from the past timelines, we can fully move on into making good experiences for the future timelines and like lifting the vibration of rest. So it's all about finding your soul pieces and getting them back together and working on yourself. When you say twin, what do you mean? So when I say twin, I am referring to my twin flame. have kept his name private on here. I call him Raul on here, even though that's not his name, but he used to call himself that. So, but it's my twin, who is also the reincarnation of, not the reincarnation, I shouldn't say that. He also has a pretty large fractal of Ramses II in him, which is why I'm constantly dealing with that past timeline of Ramses II, because I was Nefertari on that timeline. So yeah, the twin thing is like something that just kind of, it's actually, you and I could talk more about this, Carol, but it's actually twined in with the SSP stuff. It's like all this stuff, once you understand how it works, is just very confusing, and there's so many layers. But good things come out. I mean, good things come out of having a twin. Like when things are really good, they're really good, and you have these wonderful experiences. And when things are really bad, it's really bad. But they push you. So it all works. It all works. And like, what did Michael tell me that one time? He said, he goes, I know that you are really having a hard time with Raul, or like with the situation around Raul, the twin. And he said, but Raul can't be trusted right now. And he goes, I know you don't like hearing that, but that's how it is. And I was like, okay, all right. So, but that's what I like about him. Like, he's pretty much like, Ramses isn't so straightforward with me. He likes to be a little bit more vague, where like Michael is pretty much, that's what you get. Like, I trust you enough that you can handle the truth. So that's what it is. Yeah, that was a good question, Carol. Anything else? We've been streaming for 2 hours, you guys. I don't think I've ever had a personal one that's gone for 2 hours. Oh, see, sending light, laying foundations, divine plan. That's what Michael was doing. Council of Light, divine orchestration, helpers in subtle realms. That's a very Michael card too. What's no longer in alignment with who you truly are. And he told me once, and again, the Age of Light, he told me once, he said, people think that I lost myself in all the fame. And he said something like, if I would have lost myself, I wouldn't, if I didn't stay true to who I was, I wouldn't have made it as far as I made it. And he said something like, I guess I'll just leave it there, like, I wouldn't have made it as far as I made it had I, had I not been myself, or something like that. And that's what got him in trouble, because humans aren't as innocent as like, so yeah. So I think it's important. All right. I'm going to close with a blessing, a light language blessing, and then we are going to close for the night. And if you guys have personal questions you want to ask, feel free. If I can't answer them, I'll just tell you guys I can't answer them, either because I don't know the answer, or because it might be better if I don't give the answer. So, all right. Gushataya so onati tukubujitiatasana kuala hana kyoto biaka alu ushitia sanaya nata pushina zagua pata halamuasa naya tobo yakwana yakashitia sanala muyatakia mo utayaka kalu ushukoa bayanasa Maya sanahana, iala uapa uku, na tiasa luumania, kiasha na hiata sieta upa, kiana yataba, wala iatoku una siniata lahanasia, biasata ayata ana, mahala, gua abashuku pusiaka, anka diaka, kiako ono tokana tiasa tayapa, naleata siena uasha, nahala, mahala. Asaka uona yata kuapa ana dia sopu kosha dia saleana muko alahana dia kuama siatayana mahala. Namaste. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Much love and many blessings to you. Have a wonderful night.